Over the last few weeks, I've spoken with a variety of leaders from various industries, and there are a few trends emerging from these conversations. I mean, yes, there is a tech skill shortage at the moment, and organisations need to work harder to attract the right talent to their company. And predictably, in these customer-centric times, the candidates are very often now holding all the cards. Businesses can no longer say that this company is all about the people without actually backing it up and actually looking after their people. And workers are no longer content with just clocking in and clocking out and going through the daily grind. They want to feel a part of something. Deep down, they want to make a difference and also feel valued by their company and employer too. And the days of that micromanager bullying their staff member and saying you've got a 2 out of 5 in your appraisal, book up or you'll be out of here, are thankfully disappearing. Because I think the same expectation levels we now have as consumers, we're now carrying those into the workplace too. I'm going to go off at a tangent here. And an example that I recently observed was over here in the UK, Jose Mourinho. He was often labelled as the special one because every football club he managed, he transformed into a championship winning side. But his latest return at Chelsea and then over at Manchester United ended in disaster. And I found myself scratching my head and thinking, well, what's changed in that time? And it appears to me, at least, that the days where what the gaffer says goes and everyone else's opinion doesn't count no longer works. You now need to treat people differently, or they just won't work for you. Or, of course, in Jose's position, the team stopped playing for him. And when Manchester United got Solskjaer in, who was more focused on the needs of the players and giving them a little bit more freedom, that same team that was losing and went on a 10-match unbeaten run. That's just my opinion, of course. But it's clear to me that there is a change in the air. So today, I wanted to tackle how technology can actually help increase employee engagement and also offer employee perks that actually mean something. A company called Zestful recently discovered that when they conducted a nationwide survey asking people if they would prefer a $130,000 salary or a $100,000 salary plus benefits and an experience allowance, an incredible 80% of the survey respondents preferred the lower salary and the perks package over the higher salary. What a great talking point. So buckle up and hold on tight so I can beam your ears all the way to Denver, Colorado, so we can speak with Zestful co-founder and CEO Matt Vogels about how our expectations and the experience economy are transforming employee perks and employee engagement. So a massive warm welcome to the show. Can you tell the listeners a little about who you are and what you do?
Absolutely. My name is Matt Vogels. I am the founder and CEO of Zestful. Zestful is making it really easy for companies of any size to create the perfect employee perk program. And we do that with what we call our Zestful Perk Card. It looks and works like a regular debit card, except it can only be used on the products that the company allows and only up to a specific balance. So, for example, a common use case would be a company gives $50 a month to all of their employees that can only be used on fitness and health. So the employees can use it at their favorite gym, maybe their favorite fitness app, but if they tried to use it at a gas station or a grocery store or even something like Spotify or Netflix that are not fitness and health, the card would decline. So in a way, what we've done is we've allowed these companies to create these perfect perk programs, but completely eliminating that reimbursement process.
It certainly sounds so much better than any employee perk that I've ever encountered at my previous jobs, especially in my IT world, but that's another story for another episode. But Zestful is making it easy for companies of any size to create that perfect employee perk, and it is incredibly hard to actually achieve that. But can you just set the scene and tell me a little bit more about what it is, how you achieve that, and also, of course, what makes it unique from all those other employee perk companies out there?
Yeah, and I kind of want to start that question with the two different angles that we come from. I think if you're a small company, then the difficulty is actually giving a perk that your employees will look at and recognize. You know, typically small companies can't pay high salaries, they can't give these tremendous perks and rewards, but what they can do is use something like Zestful to give $25 a month that they can use on Netflix or Spotify and those type of things. So from the small company side, it gives them this competitive advantage, we would say. From a large company size, Zestful is valuable in a different angle, in that when you have hundreds of employees, the operational cost of managing a program like a reimbursement process for fitness and health could take hours, if not days, of somebody's time. So from a small company perspective, we're the secret ingredient that lets them easily do something like employee perks. From a large company perspective, we eliminate that very heavy, cumbersome reimbursement process.
Now, I read a great stat from Zestful last week after you conducted a nationwide survey, and I'd be interested at the end of this podcast hearing back from listeners, see what they thought as well. But basically, you asked people if they would prefer a $130,000 salary or $100,000 salary plus Netflix, HBO, Hulu, Spotify, Headspace, a meal delivery service, your gym membership, $20 month allowance to a charity of their choice, and $100 a month experience allowance. And surprisingly or unsurprisingly, 80% of survey respondents preferred the perks over their higher salary every time. I mean, can you tell me more about that survey, and did those results surprise you?
Yeah, it was really the tipping point that led us down the path that is now Zestful. It was ultimately what made me realize that there is an intangible value, especially to employees, when they can receive these perks like a Netflix or HBO or their gym, education experiences, those type of things. What the survey kind of showed was employees actually, in some ways, appreciate those perks more than the monetary value associated to it. Now, what I will say about the survey is that our mission isn't to replace salary. What we don't want to happen is we don't want companies that are going in and slashing salaries for employees to give them things like Netflix and HBO. Really, the whole point of the survey for us was just to identify that there was an intangible, almost a network effect on the perks that they wanted. So instead of giving $25, let's say, to somebody's salary, you're better off giving them $25 that they can only use on those products that they care about. Whether or not we were surprised by it, I certainly was. I was hoping that it was going to be even more 50-50, but the fact that it was 80-20 really blew me away. In fact, it was so surprising, I ended up emailing as many people as I could after the survey, asking them why they chose that. Because ultimately, the difference in value was close to $25,000. The perks that you listed have about a $5,000 a year value, but the majority of employees still chose that over that $30,000 salary increase. And had we worded it differently, maybe that wouldn't have been the case. But because it was 80-20, I reached out and asked why. The results or the responses were all kind of along the line of, well, I would rather be given these things because otherwise I'm going to spend maybe the extra money on my rent, my bills, my family, maybe some of the more quote unquote responsible things that maybe I should be spending my salary on. But by actually giving me these things that I do care about and even an allowance that I can use only on the things that I care about, it had a higher value or impact on their lives.